happy birthday to PS5 and Xbox Series. They have both been out for 3 years. Jesus Christ. Time goes so fast. We are just dust in the wind. And our mortal being is just... doesn't last long. Bloody hell. I can't believe these consoles have been out 3 years. I can't believe they've been out 3 years already. Jesus Christ. Yeah. I still think that these consoles still haven't really hit their potential yet. Like, I feel like God of War was like PS4 and PS5, and I feel like most of the Xbox games have been Xbox. Like, so I think Spider-Man 2 and Starfield are like the first like proper. Oh, well, I suppose Ratchet and Clank, but like two of the first proper like next gen only games, right? That are not back with previous. I mean, you had Flight Sim as well, I suppose. I don't know.
If I go through like the PlayStation list is, and I could miss some, but I think this is it, right? Off the top of my head, you've got Astros,
Yeah.
you've got Demon Souls, you've got
Yeah.
Returnal, Spider-Man, Ratchet. Those are the big ones that I can think of off the top of my head. Those are the big ones. But I think that's about it. And I mean, out of those, the ones that really push the PlayStation, I guess Ratchet. For me personally, I think Spidey 2 is the one that's really
pushing it, yeah.
Showcased, yeah. But Demon Souls, me and Spencer having this discussion the other day, actually, while we were out drinking. Demon Souls, I still think, is probably the best looking game on the console still, to this day.
Yeah.
That was a launch game.
That game
looked fantastic. So, yeah, that's probably the best looking game we got.
So yeah, on Xbox side, I think it's Flight Simulator, Forza Motorsport, and Starfield. I think those are the three. They're like the only ones you can't play on Xbox One. But then they do let you cloud stream on the Xbox One and play those games through the cloud. But like natively, you need an Xbox Series or a good PC to run these games. So interesting. Yeah, it just feels weird that we're 3 years in and we've only just started to get exclusive games for these systems. It's very odd.
I think it goes back to the difficulties they've had this generation, though, in terms of supply and demand. Right now, I don't know. I haven't followed the Xbox too closely, so you have to fill me in a little bit here.
No, that's cool.
But with PlayStation, definitely, supply's been a real issue, and it's only really over the last year that they've managed to get that under control. And this Christmas now, we'll see. A couple of my colleagues in work, they've been coming to me lately, and my girlfriend's been coming to me as well, and asking about, PlayStation 5s, and saying, like, what should they get, and what do they need for their kids, and la 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 la. So we're giving advice out left, right, and centre. I should probably charge for it, to be honest. Like we were saying about, getting money from the audience and all this, I should probably start putting a service out there to like my work colleagues. Yes, I can provide this information. However, you got to sort me on the backhand here.
They can ask me, and I'll just say Xbox Series S with Game Pass. Just get that for your kids. That's the cheapest. That's the cheapest option. Just gonna put it out there.
That's true. That's true. But what I'm finding now, and this is what's interesting, is that people are now coming to me and saying they're finding it quite difficult again to find them, and I'm like, that's weird. But maybe that might just be a case of it's just this time of year, it's Christmas time, and people really want Spidey, and so it's just the two, right? It could just be that. But I think that's the reason why we've had so much of this whole cross-gen. I mean, the PS4 generation in particular, you had, 120 odd million units.
Yes.
You don't really want to abandon... Like, if you're making a game now, we were already talking earlier about how expensive it is and how much effort it is to be able to produce these new games, and that's why people are doing a lot of remasters and remakes and stuff like that, to be able to offset that risk.
Yes.
You can understand from their side why they don't want to abandon 122 million PS4s or an Xbox Series is. So it makes sense to not divest everything in.
Yeah.
But now that we're 3 years in, the generation is getting to the point where it can sustain itself. PlayStation now at about 50 odd million. I don't know what the Xbox is at, but you've got enough there that you could probably say, right, well, we could launch a game. It's going to sell 10 plus mil now.
Yeah.
Rather than a few years ago, there wasn't that many consoles out there to be able to make sure that you could be able to launch it. And I think that's where we are now. And that's the rationale for why we've had such a elongated last generation. Whereas before, it's normally like a year and a half, isn't it?
Yes.
And then it's done.
If that.
Yeah, if that.
Yeah.
Whereas now it seems like it's been going on for fucking forever. So
Yeah.
quite exciting for us that we can now hopefully see what the PS5 and the Xbox Series can do.
Yeah.
And
Also,
that's the exciting thing.
also, COVID didn't help as well. I think that was a big issue as well
True.
with COVID happening. Also, I just wanted to point out the Jim Ryan quote of "We believe in generations." I still think is absolutely hysterical. Like 3 years later, that he said that, and everyone was like, "Yeah, PlayStation, they're right. They believe in generations." And then Xbox got all this shit, and they've both been cross generation. It's like, why is Xbox getting shit for this when PlayStation are doing the same thing? I don't understand.
Oh man, and I've been really critical of this because I hated the fact that like Horizon and God of War that they were cross-gen. Hated it because I was like, I like, and this is selfish.
Yeah.
I'll put it out there. If you still own a PS4 and an Xbox One, fuck off. Like, just fuck off. You got enough games in them over the past 10 years. Just go play them. Like, about time this generation really flexed its legs. And I've been saying this for years. I've been literally years. I've been saying like I wish that they would just abandon PS4, and it doesn't make sense financially, right?
No.
I get that, but yeah, it's been a weird generation where it feels like we're kind of at the start of the gen, even though, as you said, we're 3 years in. Very, very weird. Very, very weird.
It is strange. Yeah, like, and then also we got the Series S, which a lot of people have been slagging off, but it's still a pretty decent. It's like a powerful system, but it doesn't do 4K. So that kind of like people are like, oh, is the Series S holding everyone back? Like, kind of, maybe, I don't know. I mean, a lot of people are still making games for it and doing pretty well with it. It's a weird one. I don't understand how people could say the Series S is holding people back when the people are still making PS4 games though and Xbox One games. It doesn't really make sense. But
I think the big thing with the S, and this will be, and it kind of all depends on what Phil Spencer's kind of take on it is going forward, right? Is that you can definitely see there is some impacts, right? Like Baldur's Gate's 1, where they're really struggling to get it to run, right? And if Phil Spencer said, like, look, if you can release it on both, great.
Yeah.
If you can't, and it has to just be the one, fine. And at least then you kind of know that if you're jumping in on an S, you can play the majority of the games, but there's going to be some that you can't, right? And that's the kind of gambit that you run. That would make sense to me.
Yeah.
It does muddy it though. And it's the same way that, and this was the worry I think that we all had when you had like the Xbox One X and the PS5 Pro, where we were thinking, is there going to be games that are only on the Xbox Series X or the Xbox One X and PS5 Pro?
Yeah.
And it just never happened, did it? It just never happened.
No.
So, but I can definitely see it could hold it back. If they were strict, they had to launch on both. I can see that if they do decide to move into this next generation fully, and they're talking about the Xbox Xbox Series X and the PS5 and that level, they want to benchmark to that. They want it to be the best looking game, run the best, have all these different things. I can see that being a bit of an anchor to Xbox.
The only thing I would say about that though is, according to like a previous financial call, the Xbox Series S is actually selling better than the X. Like, a lot of people are buying the cheaper system because it's, a lot of people don't care about 4K. A lot of people don't give a shit about 4K. It's like, oh, it does 1080p? Yeah, all right, that's fine.
And it could be for a lot of people that it might be that the Xbox is like their second system, or their third system, rather than like their main one they play.
Their Call of Duty system. Well, that's going to be
their Game Pass.
The Game Pass.
Their Game Pass system.
Yeah.
Their system that they've got their Nintendo for the Nintendo games. They've got PlayStation for their exclusives, and then everything else they kind of pick up on Game Pass, right? And it could be that that's how that's worked. I know that that's what a couple of my friends have done. That's what I've been debating for myself as well a couple of times, especially if Halo would launch really well.
Yeah,
I would have had an Xbox Series.
Nice.
Don't know which one of them though, but I probably would have gone for an X because Fuck a little
might
baby
as well.
system.
Yeah, get the proper one,
Fuck
innit?
it. Fuck it. Why not?
Well, if
But,
you end up
but
getting
I
it,
never
we'll
have.
play some Halo for sure. If you end up getting it, I'll play some Halo with you. I'll carry you, even though you'll probably be better than me.
I dare you. I dare you, mate.
But yeah, no, so I mean, speaking of, like, we were talking about pros and stuff. The PS5 Slim has just come out. How, like, thoughts on that? I mean, the £30 stand I think is absurd, but apart from that, I think it looks kind of nice. Maybe, I don't know. The disc tray always looks like a bit of a tumor. I'm not a fan of the disc
Yes.
tray. Apart from that, I think it looks alright. Honestly, I think the digital one looks nice. Personally, I don't know.
Yes. Yeah. I think the Digimon looks lush. I really don't understand this whole different design of the sides though. Like where it's got the slit down the middle, because they've been putting a lot of effort in and getting all these different sides that you can attach onto it, and make it unique, make it black, make it purple, make it silver, all these different things. And now, if you bought all those and then
Yeah.
decide to upgrade to a slim for whatever reason, someone decided to do that, you then have to start from scratch again. And I don't really get why they kind of did that. I think the physical one looks fucking ugly as hell.
Oh yeah.
I think it looks awful. Like that arse. I think I said on when I covered it before that it's like it's had a BBL, Brazilian butt lift, right? It looks like someone's just stuck like Nicki Minaj's arse onto the bottom of this thing. It looks terrible, but the Digi one does look great. I will give it that. And I think if someone's diving into this generation that they haven't before, Slim kind of makes sense, right? Why would you want like a monolith
It's
underneath
huge.
the bottom when you can have something 30% smaller? It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I mean, we've had this argument before. I think the PS5 in general is just hideous. Honestly, I think it's an ugly console. Like I was saying to Phil the other day, the PS2 is such a gorgeous console by comparison. If you like compare the two, I'd give me a PS2. It looks more modern and it looks nicer. It makes no sense, but that's the case. But yeah, I'm in the same boat with the Xbox. I've just got a Starfield wrap, which is like a cover for the Xbox. So now it's all Starfield looking. It's like, ooh, how nice. And the rumors are that next year they're bringing out a new Series X. I don't know if you've seen this. It's like, well, the leaked Series X. There's like cylindrical. Looks like an air purifier. Or like like Alexa speaker, whatever you want to call them. Yeah, it's weird. I'm interested in getting a new Series X because I use my Series X so much. It's on like pretty much 24 hours a day. I'm like constantly on it. But it's weird. It's like there's no disc tray. There's no way of attaching a disc tray. And it's cylindrical, which is weird. I don't understand it. Like, so I was going to say this as well. The PS5 Slim encourages you to put it on its side because it comes with a side stand, and the new Xbox you have to put it straight up. Whereas my setup, I have the PS5 stood up and my Xbox on its side, so I'd have to swap them round if I ended up getting both slim versions, which is really annoying. It's like I don't want to put it on its side. I don't want to put my Xbox on its. I don't want to stand the Xbox up. I haven't got the space for it. So I was like, ugh. Like, how do you put a cylindrical thing on its side? I don't understand. Ugh.
You'd have to have two little plastic stands that would be on either end, so it'd like sit into it.
Yeah.
Like a Bose speaker or
Yes.
something.
Yes.
Like if you ever seen those, so it would slot in like that. That would be the only way that you'd have to do it, and that could look all right. That might look quite cool underneath there. Because I hate my PS5 being let down. I hate it. I'm very much in the minority here, where I think stood up the PS5 looks beautiful. I think it looks lush. I really like the design of it. Lying down, it looks fucking horrendous, right? It looks awful. But I got no room. I can't put it standing up. I'd have like my cat's knocking it over. I'd have a cat sat on it, definitely. I'd have my kid coming in, smacking it over. I just can't take that risk, right? Not with something so precious, I can't be doing it. But no, it does make me kind of look back at what we had in generations before. Like I've got my down by where my fight stick is, just over there. My PS3 is in there, and I got my PS3 Slim, and the difference over the generation for like PlayStation in particular. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you had the PS3 came out with the Fat George Foreman. I love that one. Loved it. I know
like
a lot of people didn't like it. I
with
loved it though.
with 1,000 different ports for different things that no one ever
Yes.
used.
Yeah, no one ever used. And then after that, then you had the Slim, which the one I got on the TV there, and then they had a couple of different iterations, and each one looked similar to what came before. So you could identify as part of the PlayStation family, part of the PS3, but they looked like increasingly more modern, if you get me, as they kind of went along.
Yeah.
And then PS4, obviously, they didn't really seem to do an awful lot with it, other than they just released kind of a pro version.
They just added an extra slab to the side of it and made it
it
turned it from a sandwich to a
triple.
club sandwich. Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly what they did. Yeah. And so I do kind of miss this whole thing where it kind of iterates and it gets more iterative. And I suppose this would be the thing. Maybe we flash forward 5 years from now, and we've got the next revisions. Maybe the Xbox, the new one isn't cylindrical; it's then a triangle.
Oh, God.
And PlayStation's it becomes even smaller with an even bigger arse on it. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Who knows? But
Just a dump
we'll have
truck.
to see.
It's like,
Yeah, total dump truck. Yeah, total dumpy. So we'll have to see. But I do kind of miss this whole the kind of different design they went for each one, and it was quite nice. I think back in the day.
So obviously, we're talking about the 3-year anniversary. What would you say is, in hindsight, 3 years later, what was the best launch title for the PS5? For me, it's Miles Morales, probably. Yeah.
I think for me, it's Demon's Souls.
Demon's Souls is 100%. Really good. Yeah.
I think that would be, if we're talking just launch, then it would be that. If we're talking early, like first 18 months, Returnal.
Oh, you love Returnal.
Hands down Returnal. Yeah, hands down Returnal. I think, to me, that's my second favorite game in the generation so far.
Wow.
I love it so much, man. I absolutely adore it.
Whereas...
But if it was just day one, like you just buying a PlayStation, Demon's Souls.
Yeah.
Hands down. To me.
So the Xbox was an interesting launch with the Xbox Series. They didn't really have many like launch titles. They had a couple, but it was the launch title for the Xbox Series was Game Pass. Essentially, that was the big selling point. And like getting EA Play added onto it and saying, "Look, we added Bethesda to the family," because that was literally just before the Xbox launched. They announced the Bethesda acquisition. We had a 4K remaster of Gears of War 5, which they could have sold as a full game, but they just released it as like a patch basically, because like they added Dave Bautista as a playable character. They added like all these new mods and stuff to the game, 4K, 60 frames a second, like ray tracing, all this stuff to Gears of War. And they also Ori, they put that up to 120 frames a second at launch. And they also had Tetris Effect at launch. So it's like they had a decent launch lineup, a lot better than what people say. A lot of people are like, they had nothing at launch. It's like, well, they did, just not really like I feel like the launch would be seen a lot better if they sold Gears of War 5 Remaster as a 60 quid game and say, look, this is a launch title, instead of just going, here's a port, if you have Gears of War 5, here's the Series X version, go have fun.
I suppose it's a tricky one, isn't it, on their side, because they want it to be they like we were saying earlier, whereas PlayStation was saying about, we believe in generations, right? And that's why they were launching, exclusive like Demon's Souls or whatever, or Astros on there. Xbox have always just had this more kind of consumer friendly approach. That's what they've been trying to put out there, haven't they? And so you buying it for not the games that are coming or anything like that. It's more of a case of you're getting a better experience than what you've had before.
Yeah.
And that's what they're selling it as, whereas the PlayStation's always been a case of, or historically, until this generation, it's been a case of, here's a line in the sand, you're moving on to the next one.
Yes.
And everything else before, or doesn't, like after the first iteration. And it's just that line in the sand, you move over to this, and this is where you now play. Yeah. Whereas Xbox is more, you follow that wave, right, don't you?
Yeah, it's more like, yeah, I suppose that is true what you're saying, but it also kind of like it's like PlayStation went, oh yeah, it's a new generation, hard cut, and then they go, actually, let's not hard cut it. Let's just like they had a hard cut like launch, and then after launch they kind of backtracked a little bit.
The toe just goes back over the other line. Maybe we won't hard cut.
No.
That's the tide's coming in. Let's wash over that line. That line now is 3 years down the line.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought it was interesting because like. Yeah, there was some stuff to play at Xbox launch, but it wasn't the launch was a bit poor. And then 2021 came out. Like they had Halo, Forza Horizon 5, Psychonauts, Flight Simulator. They had a really good year. They were like touted as Developer of the Year in 2021, and then 2022 was a complete shit show. So it's been very like
all over the place,
nothing, loads, nothing. Loads, and we're in the loads at the moment. I'm hoping that we're not going to have nothing next year. Like they said, there's 4 games announced for next year already, so we should be okay. But Xbox does have a tendency to do this. Whether we have,
you'd hope now that there's been enough time that things will start to click into shape. And I suppose this is the conversation that we always seem to have in terms of like the management, the studios, and stuff like that. But I mean, this is it now. You know, hopefully Starfield's the start. And as you said, 2024, they got 4 games announced already.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about what they got. PlayStation coming up in 2024. We got
Wolverine from Stars.
Maybe Wolverine. I don't know. I wouldn't go so far. I think for what we got confirmed, we got Death Stranding 2.
Ooh,
we got Helldivers. We got Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, if you want to count that. It is an exclusive, even though probably not for long. And that's it so far.
Oh, wow.
But, yeah, I think that's all that's been announced so far. But that's the thing. It's just announced. So that's where the hype's like, oh, what's the big game? You know, because all these games you can think, you know, they're all going to be out probably by Q2. So then we don't know what's Q3, Q4, or 2025. So hopefully Ghost of Tsushima. I reckon it's Ghost of Tsushima's year next year.
I want that.
I put money on that. I'd put money on that.
So earlier on, I said if Wolverine came out or Death Stranding 2 came out, I'd play the PS5. Did I say no? Ghost of Tsushima or Wolverine is what I meant to say. And then, but Death Stranding 2 would also be on that list. I would definitely want to try and play. I want to go back and play Death Stranding 1. I did enjoy it for what I played. I just never finished it. I need to go back and play a bit more Death Stranding 1 because I'm a bit of I love Hideo Kojima. He's the best. He's so weird.
Yeah, he is the best.
He's so odd. He's such an odd individual, but I love him. But yeah, so like next year for Xbox is Towerborn, Avowed, Hellblade 2, Flight Sim 2024, and then there's also other games they haven't officially announced yet.
Wow.
So there's 4 official games on the docket, but then there's also other ones they haven't announced yet, so we're still waiting on that. Like there's a Blizzard rumored like a survival game by Blizzard that might be coming out, and there's loads of stuff like Contraband, Fable. Like you don't know what's coming out next year. I say all this now, and then it'll literally be fuck all next year. Now I'll be like, where are my games?
Yeah, I mean, who knows, right? Who knows? The big thing is going to be we got Game Awards coming up in a couple of weeks now.
Yeah,
and that's always pretty Xbox heavy in terms of what they show there. So I imagine you're going to see quite a few updates there, and that will hopefully be a case that you could think, right, well, give me a bit of, kind of a bit of support going into 2024, thinking, right, okay, these games are further along. You know, like, say, for example, like we were joking earlier on the show, if they have another CG trailer or for fucking... Hellblade, right? I'd be worried as hell if it was another one. Like, I really would be. Whereas if they come out and they show gameplay and it looks sick, you think 2024, 100%. Like, easy. Whereas I think on the opposite side of the camp, I don't think PlayStation are going to be at the Game Awards apart from like one game. I reckon they'll show like one big hitter, and that'll be it. And it'd probably be something Last of Us. It'd probably be something Last of Us, I guess. Yeah, I imagine. And that would be it. Because they got the TV show for Last of Us is up for Best TV Adaptation.
Yes.
Definitely win that.
I voted for Mario.
I voted for Mario. Really?
Yeah.
Mario was great. Don't get me wrong. Come on, man. He's nowhere near on the same level. So, yeah, I can imagine they'd have that, but then nothing. So the hope on our side of the pond is that we're going to have a showcase or something before end of year, which will then show off 2024. But who knows? They might just not bother. At the moment, it's fucking impossible to predict. So who knows? Who knows?
Oh yeah.
And GTA 6, of course, that's going to be
that's
a
announced
huge game
next
for next
week.
year.
Yeah, that's they said they're going to be showing the trailer for that soon. I think so.
Mate, this could be why everyone's going quiet, on announcements. It could be that people are just waiting to see when GTA 6 is out.
Get the fuck out of the way.
Out the way. Yeah, I do not want to go anywhere near this.
Yeah,
it could be that.
Also forgot to mention that next year Xbox will have Call of Duty Black Ops 6 or whatever the next Call of Duty game is going to be technically an Xbox game, and it's going to be under their umbrella as well, so they're going to be promoting the shit out of that the next year. Hellblade is concerning because they said it's got combat in it, and they've shown like CG, like
threw a spear, didn't she?
Yeah,
threw a bloody spear.
Oh yeah. But I was gonna say they showed like what's it like a capture, like motion capture of her doing sword stuff. But we've not seen any gameplay at all when it comes to that. All we've seen is walking, essentially, her walking and talking to herself like, I'm talking to myself. Oh my god. That's all we got from the Hellblade 2. It's like, show me the bloody action. I don't want to see her talking to herself anymore. For fuck's sake, woman. Get a sword.
Show me what we do. Yeah, show me what we do. Like, what is this talking to yourself simulator?
Yeah, that's what it feels like. It's weird, yeah. I'm worried it is just going to become a walking sim, and that's what I'm concerned about. I hope not, but yeah. Like, this is supposed to be like our God of War, this is. This is supposed to be like, supposed to be our big cinematic game here. I'm scared that it might not hit. I forgot to mention as well, Stalker 2 that's supposed to be coming at some point. Hopefully early next year, fingers crossed. But obviously the stuff in the Ukraine has been made it very difficult.
Messing that up.
Yeah.
And that's on a limited exclusivity, isn't it?
Like I think it's 3 months. Yeah, the rumor is 3 months. Yeah, I believe. But still, it's another big game coming out next year, which is nice. I don't think 2024 is going to be anywhere near as good as 2023, though. Honestly, I think 2023 has been exceptional. For all three consoles and PC. So that's bad.
I think it'll go down as one of the best years ever. Definitely.
It's right up there,
for gaming.
For sure. So, I mean, how long do you think we got left in this generation now? So we're 3 years in. The average is 7 years, right? I mean, what we think in 2020... I don't know. 2028? Are we going to be seeing the PS6 and the Xbox... I don't know, 0.1 or whatever they want to call it.
I think it all depends. If we get a Pro next year, which is the rumor that's doing the rounds, and so far these rumors, as much as I don't want to believe them, they've been bang on. Actually, so far they said a Slim was coming out. I didn't believe it. Here it is this year. So say a Pro comes out next year. 2 years on from that. So we're talking 2026, 2027 for the next one, I'd say.
Right.
But it still feels too early, though.
It does. It does definitely feel too... Maybe it's because we're old.
Could be.
Because, the original Xbox generation was only 4 years, I think. The original Xbox. And, that felt like I was around for ages. But it literally is about the same length of time this one's been out already. And it was already getting replaced with the 360. So it's like, mad to think. Time is just goes so fast the older you get. If you're kids and you're listening to this, enjoy your life while you still can. You'll be old before you know it. Oh, back in my day, console generations were longer. Oh my god. But yeah, I'm hoping it's not. I would like this console generation to last a little longer because I feel like the Xbox Series X has so much potential, and I don't even feel like I've got the most out of it yet. It doesn't feel like we've really pushed it at all, and I think the PS5's the same. I think the first Spider-Man flying through that building in the Sandman fight, that was about ooh, okay, this is next gen. That's the most next gen I felt with PS5, and then with Starfield, some of the stuff they've done in there, I feel ooh, that's pretty next gen as well. But it's because they did like they did their. I mean, minor spoilers, I guess. In Spider-Man, you can go through portals in this one mission, which is very Ratchet and Clank, and it's like it's very cool. There's a similar mission to that in Starfield as well, which does the similar kind of thing, and it's just like that's really cool. That's next gen, but I don't feel like we've had much of that at all. Like there's Ratchet, Demon's Souls, Spider-Man 2 on the PlayStation side. Then there's Flight Sim, which is really impressive because it's literally the entire planet 3D modeled, which is insane. Starfield's pretty impressive. Forza is really pretty, but it's just a racing game at the end of the day. It's like those are the only games that's really pushing this system, and I feel like if we're wrapping up the system already, it seems a bit strange to me. I don't know.
Yeah. I think now whoever we've got next on both sides for 2024, 2025, that's where they got to really push at the stops now, and we got to see right what have we got in the tank. And I mean, when you're talking about like with Hellblade especially, that first game was fucking beautiful. That's what they're known for, the studio, right? On the same level that I'd put like Guerrilla on the PlayStation side, known for their kind of technical chops.
Yeah.
So we'll see. And I mean, this is the exciting thing is that we got so many unknowns over the next couple of years that we could have something come out and you're like, oh my God. Like, I think, and this is the problem with getting old, right? And I suppose, especially for us, do you remember, like, we were playing our PlayStation 1s, N64s, stuff like that. And then we see a gameplay demo of Metal Gear Solid 2. And it was like, holy shit! It was like insane. It was like absolutely nuts. Like nothing I'd ever seen before. Like where glass could shatter, or you could break through, or you could hold guards up, and all this stuff that was like, there was no fucking way this could happen on PS1.
Yeah.
And I've never had that feeling since. Wow. I don't think ever. I think the only time I've had something close is in like Last of Us 2. Where I know you hate it, but like
it's all right.
where you shoot someone in a leg, and then someone be like, "Not Barry,
not Barry,
big brother Barry."
I'm like, shut up.
And, like that kind of stuff, like really grabbed me, like that attention to detail. But yeah, I'm waiting for that moment on PS5, and I haven't quite had it yet. So I think there's a lot more to come. I think the fast travel in Spider-Man, probably the first glimpse.
Yeah, that's
probably the first glimpse, but I'm expecting for something on that same kind of level.
It's funny because you say that about the PlayStation and all that. It's the quick resume on an Xbox feels next gen, but that's not actually a thing in a game. It's just something you can do with multiple games. It's like it feels weird to me when I play my PlayStation. I'll close a game and then I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta load the game up again. All right. Shit, all right. Whereas on Xbox, I'm literally just jumping. It's like, oh, I'm bored of Halo now. Let's bring up Yakuza. Oh yeah, this is exactly where I left it 10 minutes ago. Like that's awesome. I don't know why PlayStation hasn't done that yet. It's weird. They need to do it. But like that's next gen to me. That's like the most next gen thing, and that's just a big system quality thing, which is interesting. When you said about graphics, the thing that jumped to mind to me was the first time I saw Gears of War on the Xbox 360. Like I was a big Nintendo I was a massive Nintendo fanboy. I was like, oh yeah, I love the Wii, I love Red Steel and doing this shit.
I love Red Steel, man.
Oh man, I was so like Twilight Princess. I love Twilight Princess. I thought that was great on the Wii. And then my friend was like, oh, have you seen Gears of War? I was like, no, what's this? And then I saw him play Gears of War. Like, wow, okay. I need a HD TV. I need an Xbox 360. I need a next gen console like right now. And then like that's literally what converted me to an Xbox gamer. I was literally seeing Gears of War like I was already a Halo fan, but Gears of War was just like, wow, this is like photorealistic. Nothing will ever look better than this. And then you look back at it now, it's like, okay, it still holds up pretty well, but it's still like, oh, okay. But Gears of War was that leap in graphics for me where I was like, oh, wow. That's next gen. But then obviously Metal Gear as well, yeah. Like I we are old, aren't we? I just remember jumping up to the jump to the like Mario 64 from like Super Mario Bros. 3 and Super Mario Bros. World going to 64. Like, whoa, 3D graphics. And it's like, wow. Mad. Cloud will never look more realistic than this. His giant blockheads. Blockheads.
It's mad, mate. It's
Oh
mad.
God.
I,
Yeah.
I,
Oh
re-
man.
I, oh, I remember just like playing MGS1 and then just being like, oh my God, like this game is so pretty. And then I booted it up as part of the collection the other day, and I was like, "Fucking hell!" Like, I love this game, but Jesus Christ, there's
Yeah.
no faces. They don't have
No.
faces, bro. They're just a block with lines. You know,
Yeah.
it's wild.
It is amazing how well that game holds up, though, like gameplay and audio wise and all that. Though, oh my God, the voice acting and stuff, it still holds up really well. And like, yep, Solid Snake's still a pervert, and he's still pervert on all the women.
Hey, that says more
maybe,
about you than
maybe,
Solid Snake. That does, mate. You're just staring through the vent at Meryl doing her sit-ups, and you're just like, "Oh, I can watch this for a bit longer."
no, I just because I was playing it the other day, like just the beginning, and it's the beginning, just like, and you a little cute to be a scientist. It's like, I'll call you later, and then like the other woman, he's like, oh yeah, I remember you strip searching me. It's like, maybe you can strip search me when I get back. It's like I'll hold you to that. It's like, okay, Snake, calm down, keep your snake down, mate. Keep your solid snake flatted
To
at the
yourself.
moment.
Oh dear.
But no, that game holds up really well. Yeah. So that was another question I was going to ask about this generation. Like, how would you stack this up, like generation wise? Like, I think this Xbox Series X is probably the best Xbox generation apart from maybe the 360. I think the 360 had a better launch lineup. But then you've got Game Pass, you've got like 500 games at launch anyway. So technically you have 500 games at launch on the Xbox Series. But I think the Xbox 360 was probably the best launch. But then obviously they had the rendering of death and all that stuff. So if I was like stacked, so that also takes away from it a little bit. But I would say it's like Xbox 360's top, then this, then the original Xbox, then the Xbox One, because the Xbox One was like a bit of a disaster. So, like, where would you stack like the PS5's launch, or like where would you stack it in the pantheon of PlayStation consoles? Personally,
Ooh. Oh, very tricky, right? Well, straight away, bottom of the list is PS2. PS2 launch was terrible. It had really bad games at launch. PS2 did. You had like the bouncer, I think,
yeah,
and
I think I remember
I
that.
think there was like some racing game that was those shits as well. Um, and PS4 had a really strong launch. PS4 off memory now, you had
Resogun.
Resogun. Resogun was sick.
Oh, so good.
Uh,
Assassin's
they
Creed
did,
Black Flag. That was the what I got with my
yeah.
PS4 when I got it at launch.
Battlefield 4 I got with mine, which was great. In fact, I'm pulling up the list now. See if there's anything
Call of
I
Duty
missed here.
Ghosts, everyone's favorite. Saying
The
that, it's not
Wolfen...
as bad as Modern Warfare 3, apparently.
Oh, you had Knack. You had
Oh,
Knack.
Knack.
Jesus Christ, what a terrible game that is. But you had Killzone Shadowfall, which was the reason why I bought it, and I really liked that one, even though a lot of people didn't.
Oh, I like
Um,
Shadowfall. It was a good game. I still, to this day, think that's one of the most beautiful games I've ever played. And it's a PS4 launch style, which is kind of crazy.
PS3 had a pretty strong launch because you had Resistance Fall of Man, which I loved, right? And
Yeah.
Motorstorm. And
Oh,
I
both great
loved the
games.
Motorstorm. And I had Ridge Racer 7 with mine as
Ridge
well.
Racer.
And those were my launch games. And I loved those. But yeah, I think I don't know. I mean, PS5 I think had a really strong launch because you had Spider-Man Miles Morales, you had Demon Souls, and you had Astro. And all three of those games I think absolutely slapped tits. And especially Astro to me. I mean, like a lot of people
I like that
think
Astro,
of it
yeah.
as nothing. But I loved it. I think it's still like my favorite platformer of this gen so far. I just love it, man. I absolutely love it. Um, so I'd probably go so far, and I'd have to check the PS1
Yeah.
launch. I'd have to check that. But going off the top of my head, if I don't use anything,
Yeah.
I think PS5's had the best launch library because it also came with 20 games from the PS4 generation. Inbuilt with it as well.
Oh,
So you
yeah. I
had
forgot about that, yeah.
so it was a really really strong
The PS
launch.
Plus collection, which they got rid of,
Yeah,
which
and
is
that was
weird.
yeah well now it's all just rolled into PS Extra, isn't it?
Oh,
So
okay.
that's how they kind of get you now. But yeah, I'd probably say that PS5 had the best launch library. But I think the best console so far in terms of its catalog is PS4. without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
I'd say that.
So, I mean, I was going off, like, the console in general, but yeah, if you're going purely off launch, the Xbox One had a pretty decent launch, actually. It had, bloody hell, what's it called? Son of Rome? Uh, Rise, Son of Rome. That game is fun. That game is really fun, and it holds up really well. Like, graphically, yeah. It was decent. It wasn't, like, the best game ever. It was a bit repetitive. It was like, if you played it for like 5 hours, you get the most out of it. But like, yeah, it was fun. And then it had Dead Rising 3, which was kind of good. And also Sunset Overdrive came out like pretty soon after launch as well. And Quantum Break. So it was some decent stuff at launch for the Xbox One. It's just a shame the rest of the console was a piece of shit. And then the Kinect was a bit of an issue. Like, why did you force the Kinect on people? That was a train wreck. So that kind of takes it down a bit. 360, you had Oblivion, you had Gears of War came out pretty soon after launch. So that was a pretty good launch lineup. I think the original Xbox, Halo Combat Evolved.
Halo, yeah, sweeps, man, so good.
So I mean, that's
so good.
So I think maybe the launch lineup, the day one launch lineup, I think maybe the Xbox Series X might even be the lowest. It might be the worst, but as a after 3 years, the first 3 years, I think it's top or second from top with the Xbox 360. I think it's right up there. One of the best first 3 years of console. Pretty decent. It's got a decent library now. Finally, it took a while. We got there. Finally. And then hopefully next year we got another, like, hopefully for the foreseeable future now we will have 4 or 5 decent games every year. Fingers crossed. That's what they're aiming for anyway. Yeah, so I think that's really it when it comes to this subject. I mean, are you happy with this generation? Like out of 10, what would you rate the PS5 so far?
I think so far, right, in terms of the PS5 itself, I think it's easily their best console they've ever made in terms of what it does. But I think that just comes with just modern technology, right?
Exactly.
The handset's the best that they've ever produced, in my opinion. I know you're not a massive fan, but I love.
No, I agree.
The
actually,
way it feels. I love the triggers. I love all the features that are inbuilt into it. I think it's absolutely incredible. The games, God of War Ragnarok's literally my second favorite game of all time.
Wow.
So that hard carries. But then I think over the span of the last 3 years so far, they haven't really missed. So I think they're on track for this to be the best console they've ever made in terms of a library.
Wow.
Their next 2 years are going to be key to see if it can overtake PS4, because PS4 easily the best, I think, so far in terms of like what they were producing. PS3 may have had more content from the first party, but they weren't at the same level of quality that PS4 produced.
Yeah.
So PS5, wait and see, but so far they're on track to be the best as far as I'm concerned.
It's interesting.
Very happy.
It's interesting with the PS5 that you got they pivot to live service, and now they're kind of pivoted back a little bit. So I'm really interested to see where it's going to be in the next. I'm not saying it's good or a bad thing. I'm just saying it's interesting that their bread and butter has been third-person action games, and now they're kind of moving away from that. So I'm really intrigued to see how it goes over the next couple of years. I think I'm really interested. It could be a train wreck. It could be an absolute amazing success. I don't know.
Wait and see. Time will tell. And this is the thing that's really exciting, is that we just don't know what's coming.
Yeah.
And so that's exciting. And I know a lot of people could probably go into that with trepidation, but I think until they kind of take a couple of missteps, there's no reason to doubt them at the minute.
It's funny because it's like, it feels like Xbox and PlayStation are kind of doing the reverse of each other. Like, Xbox have already got all the live service games in the bag already. They got Fallout 76, Elder Scrolls Online, Sea of Thieves. What's it called? State of Decay 2, Halo Infinite, Call of Duty now. They've just added that to the list. Overwatch. Essentially, they got all the live service games like in the bag. Now they're like, let's make a load of single player RPG games. We've got Avowed, Clockwork Revolution, Fable, Hellblade, like all these games lined up, like single player experiences. And they've because like, oh, we got the live services done. We'll do the single player stuff now. Whereas PlayStation is like, oh, we got all the single player stuff done. Now let's do some live services. It's just kind of funny that they kind of like swapped positions in that one, which is really intriguing. So the next few years are going to be really interesting, and I'm excited as an Xbox fan for sure. Because if we're going into the like when PS4 was at its peak, if this is where Xbox is going now, that's going to be really exciting to be an Xbox gamer. It's like we're moving into that period of time if we're following the same schedule of like routine, you know. So
yeah, definitely. No,
exciting.
definitely.
I'm very excited. I'm also going to be annoyed when Avowed eventually gets a 7 out of 10 from IGN, and I'm going to be really pissed. I can already tell. It's going to happen.
I'll be there to temper your fires, mate. If it's not what it should be, but I have all faith. I have all faith that they're going to knock it out of the park.
Yeah, it should be fun though. This generation is great. We got the Slim consoles just come out, and we got the Xbox Tube coming out next year in theory. So we still got a couple more years left this generation. So I'm really intrigued to see where we go from here. What do you guys think of the first 3 years of this generation? Has it gone fast for you? Are you a youngster? You're like, oh, the last 3 years have lasted forever in my eyes. Like, how would you rate this generation? Are you a fan of PS5 or Xbox Series? Let us know in the comments below. Or are you just a Switch user? You're like, oh, what are you on about? This generation's over for us. Let us know in the comments below. Really appreciate it. Thank you for listening to the X Marks the Box podcast. Follow us at xmarksbox on Twitter or xmarksthebox on YouTube. And follow us on all audio podcast services. Thanks for listening.